everybody. How is everybody doing? Welcome to Transgender.
Hello,
We are
hello.
here again. We are here again. Today, we would like to talk about unleashing creativity. By the way, we've been having an incredible time here in the United States. Um, Positive, negative, it depends on the point of view, but we're not going to talk about those things. We're just talking about our creativity, our love for being creative. Nature is so beautiful. Everybody has got creative powers,
Mm,
and how are we going to unleash them? Have you thought about your own creative powers? So,
yeah.
who wants to go first? um, Bobby, would you
Well,
like?
you're the most creative one.
I'm not
I
creative.
mean, artistically, you got all these visual graphic skills and everything.
Me, creative. Well, I have to tell a little bit the truth, you know. I um I always thought I was creative. But I was blocked for a long, long time from my creativity
Yeah.
until the time actually I started to transition. The door of the transitioning opened other doors, very, very strong doors.
Mhm.
2 years after I actually transitioned, I wrote my first book. And then I wrote two and three, and I'm working on the fourth, but the fourth one is coming a little bit slower. My
Mm.
second book took me actually, it's called Ever's World. Took me approximately 1.5 months to write. It was kind of incredible because I couldn't stop. I was writing day and night for that book. It was kind of and I'm proud of the book. Actually, I just was invited to make a special thing about that book. But it was a kind of incredible thing that, when you start to write and your mind goes free, you get into kind of a trance. You are actually in a trance of writing. And I tell you, I was writing 12, 15 hours a day non-stop. It was just kind of like a writing diarrhea, you know what I mean? Out, out, and out, and out, and out. And then it was a magical moment, I have to say. It was a really magical moment. And I really understood what actually writers go through and how beautiful it is to let your thoughts and let yourself coming out. It is something extremely important. Um, in life you've got good moments, you've got bad moments,
Mhm.
but there's one thing which is the most important in your life, and I think this is a theme that it's always come back. It's to be honest with yourself, and it's to be in touch with yourself. Not many people actually can do that, I have to tell you. But if you can, it's magical. And writing, it's magical.
Mm.
My first book I took a couple of months. It was my first book. It was quite okay. My second book, it took me almost 2 years to write. It's not always the same pace. Mainly, it's phases. You do something, and then you've got other projects to do, and then you come back, and then you've got other projects to do, and then afterwards you say, "Well, now I've got to finish it," and then you finish it, and you send it to the editor. And then of course, it's so complicated because the editor always finds everything wrong,
Right.
and then you have to correct. And I have to say, I learned a lot. I've got a very faithful editor, and she's a wonderful person.
Mhm.
And the way I wrote the first book I wrote, it was kind of um, it. it was not in the right place. And in the beginning, it was only, I think it had about 100 and something pages. It turned out in the end, it was about 300 pages, because you actually put yourself in a different field and you try to increase the way that and improve the way you do it. Um, I mean, the third reading is always the worst. It's always the worst, the third reading, because on the third reading, you start to realize the mistakes you made in the first one and you start to improve them. But you really do need the editor because there's so many things that you forgot or you've overseen and stuff like that. So it's really I have to go back a little bit to reading, but I've been very busy with my business and my other things. So it's not always easy to but I really want to go back to writing and doing new books.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a following book for Eva's World, and Eva's World is a novel of a transgender woman. Guess what? And
Oh,
Right, what you know about, yeah.
and she gets married, and then there is a following up on that. So that is something. That's my part of unleashing my um, my creativity. But be careful. I think before you unleash your creativity, you have to unleash yourself and to find out where you are. That is my opinion. Who's next?
I'll
Right.
go.
You are a writer too, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, I am definitely. So I will first start off by saying that we all are creative by nature. We create in many ways. We've
Mhm.
gone from the caves to the computer age because of our creativity. So we're naturally creative. And that's how come all of the generations of people that have come, we've continued to evolve and to grow and to expand because of someone's creative thinking. We have these minds, we come up with an idea, and then we work to manifest it. That's creation. That's being creative. Um, and so some people are more in touch with it than others. We all have the ability to do it, but I think, there's some people that are more expressive about it. And for me, creativity has been a major part of my life, from the way I put myself together. To me, like we as transgender people and women have to be creative and we find what works for us because what works for me might not work for Ella or Bobby or Jimmy. We find our ways to make it work that bring us out in the best way. So that's being creative. I've also been creative with writing. Ella said I have a book out. It's my memoir, and I wrote that in about, well, I wrote it like in a couple months, but then like the editor thing, I sent it to the editor and it came back, and then I had to like work on it and continue to work. So I would say within a year the book was done. Within a year from soup to nuts, it was done. The concept to all the way being able to hold a book in my hand, it was about a year. But that has been a real, I think, important aspect of my life. And it's also been the thing that has helped me to hold on, to
Mhm.
carry on, to be able to maneuver in this life. Because not only in my expression through writing or videos that I do or my acting that I've done, or, and not only in those ways, but just in being able to maneuver through life. When I go out into the world, a lot of us trans people, we have to be creative and sometimes figure out ways to get around a certain block, a certain thing that's blocking us. I always say, with us transgender people, we can make lemon meringue pie out of lemons. We find a way. And that all is in the core of our creativity. So that's what I'll say for now, and I'll throw it back to Ella, and she can throw it to
Well,
someone else.
Yeah.
not particularly creative because you're an actor too. So, I mean, writing is not only one way of creativity. Creativity can be done in so many in so many ways. I mean, we've got a very creative person here, really very creative person in the gardens, in the conception. Jimmy, it's your
Yes.
turn.
Uh,
It's really nice to be with everybody today. When we were getting warmed up, we were talking about how beautiful the planet is, and it just so happens that I have like a little miniature studio set up in my car, and usually I'm in the parking garage at LA Fitness on the top floor, but now I'm currently at Fort Lauderdale Beach, and the parking's in such a way that I'm looking right at the sand, the coconut palms, the beach, the waves, the boats going by. There's a nice breeze, and I got my dog with me, so she's kind of hanging out in the back.
oh, good.
So things are good. And so I had, you know, I had to in figuring my day and how all this was going to unfold, I had to use my creative abilities to figure out how I'm going to end up here at 10 minutes to 6. And so that's the creative powers at play. And there's a saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Mhm.
So when we place ourselves in need, we necessities are the mechanisms that unleash potential. And all the qualities, I think it was either Ella or Raji stated that, as humans, we have creative and imagination, creativity. We can dream, we can visualize. So, we can be in a, a room somewhere and visualize. There was I think it was Dennis Waitley, one of the motivational speakers back in the day, was talking about some of the uh, prisoners in the Vietnam War, and they could be in their holding area, and in their mind play an entire game of golf. And so that's using your imagination and your creativity. And all of us have this the potential. All of us have the potential to dream, imagine, create, visualize. But it's I think adversity cultivates creativity. We want to change our trajectory or our current situation. We use our visualization and creativity skills to find a way how to cultivate what we're trying to create. And Ella was talking about something interesting where she would write for 15 hours or 12 hours a day, and the information would just flow into her. Like you call it like you're in the zone.
Yeah.
So how we get to the zone, how we get in a creative state, is that we have to feel in our heart that we've already arrived at where we want to go, and then what that feeling would be like, and then feel that feeling. Feel that feeling, what it's like to win an Olympic gold,
Hmm.
and it shall come to pass. And I think I don't the one NFL football, the quarterback that keeps on winning all the Super Bowls.
Tom Brady.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Tom. Thank you. The reason he keeps winning all these Super Bowls is because he's creating the circumstance that all this happens
Yeah.
through a visualization. You already have won the game prior to even stepping a foot on the field.
Mm.
So these are keys to unleash the creative juices that are in all of us. And I know some of my best ideas come when I'm 3/4 of the way through a vigorous workout in the gym, or I'm on the beach right now. You go for a walk on the beach. You
Mhm.
put yourself in a position where your mind is unlocked and there's no distractions, and the wind is blowing through your hair, and you can hear the wind and you're going through your ears, and the sun on your body. All these things they release the creative juices. And like, how did someone invent the wheel? I'm sure they got real tired of carrying stuff around.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Mhm.
Um, there was one example of my business. Uh, there's a lot of diseases that can be spread via pruning tools from trimming one
Yes.
tree to the other.
Mhm.
The pathogens in the saw. You trim one tree that's got a disease, and then you don't clean your saw. You go to the next tree. You just transmitted that disease. So I invented this thing called what's known as a blade bath. It's a tube that is filled with a disinfectant, that between each tree you stick your saw in this tube and it disinfects it. And it's called the blade bath. And I patented it and promoting it. And it's doing pretty well. So there was a need that I used my imagination and creativity to solve this problem.
Absolutely.
So, and we live in a world now where everyone's looking for the easy way, or, I want this or I want that. No, go get it. Go get it. And when you do get it, there's a greater sense of fulfillment and a greater sense of value. If someone gives you something, okay, great. But if you go out there and earn it and create and become human and sweat and think and problem solve, when you do achieve that goal, it has more value, more meaning. That's why when you see the Olympics are going on right now, when you see these Olympics win the gold, they're emotional, because there was like an insane amount of effort to achieve that level of performance. So when you get there, it has more value.
Mm.
Ella.
I give back to Bobby.
Well,
It's your turn.
well, I'm really enjoying this, hearing what you have to say, and it was the unleashing part that was that I was really trying to think about, because we all have some amount of creativity. I was thinking about my grandmother taught me most of what I know about cooking, and it was like, well, just what's in the kitchen, open the refrigerator, what do we got? And just get real creative with whatever we have right there. And it's like, I've spent the rest of my life trying to find somebody that cooks as well as my grandmother, and I haven't. And I don't even come close to myself. And I thought she taught me all she knew. But anyhow, it was really like what Jimmy was saying about it was just necessity. I got a hungry family. What do we got to work with? And she would always turn it into something magnificent. And so I can see that when it comes to cooking, I think we all can get pretty creative. Gardening is another thing like that. You've got a little bit of dirt here. It's like, boy, I can make this look really pretty. And, you just start working on it and adding stuff. And, as you're out and about, I think I'd like that plant. And so, I think we all have, oh, and then just, well, like Raji mentioned, our appearance. I think we get real creative with our appearance. We talk to people about people tell us what colors look good on us, or this or that. And the next thing you know, we're out looking for stuff that's black or green or Joe, and we get real creative about that. But when it comes to unleashing that creativity, uh, you know, I couldn't help but think about um, how many of us at some point struggle with like depression.
Hmm.
And one of the symptoms of depression is that you stop doing things that you once enjoyed an awful lot. And a lot of times those are our creative pursuits. Like I've been a musician most of my life, and my goodness, boy, do you have to be creative when you come to that. Uh,
Yes.
or, or writing. You know, I've done a lot of writing, but there've been times in my life where I was more productive than others, and so that's why I talk about being a big mental health advocate, because um, a lot about life is trying its best to bring us down or to make us depressed or make us tired and weary, and that's a real threat to creativity. And so when when you talk about unleashing creativity, um, and I think about the people that are saying, oh gosh, I really need to hear this because I'm not feeling as creative as I used to be. Well, maybe that, you know, um, it's time to talk to somebody really close because something's going on where you have lost the joy in something that used to really move you a lot. And so, anyhow, back to that idea of unleashing. Um, I remember just some things that I heard along the way because I was really uh, really blessed to be able to um, um, go through a whole lot of graduate school and you know master's degrees and a doctorate and all of that kind of stuff. But you know, one of the biggest problems that people have if they're going to try to do a doctorate or something like that is like, oh my gosh, the dissertation, and they'll you know they'll sit and they'll freak out about dissertation for years, and and um and you'll hear people identify themselves as ABD, all but dissertation. I've done all the work. I just haven't done my dissertation yet. And so you know, there's a lot of people that get to that point. And so when I think about things that really helped me uh, to unleash, um, there were there were some people that just really gave me a little nuggets of wisdom here and there. And there were two of them were Chinese proverbs, and it's like the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Hmm.
Okay. So, well, okay, take the first step. And I say, okay, what's my first step? And the same fellow says, gives me another Chinese proverb. It's begin what is difficult where it's easy.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
don't you start by writing the limitations on your dissertation? Why don't you start by just talking about where the limits are, just how far does it go, and I said, well, that's a great idea. I can do that, and so that was exactly what I did. Or I had another publisher that said, uh, why don't you all just get together and brainstorm a table of contents?
Mm.
And it was like, well, I think we can do that. And it is, and just that step about beginning what's difficult where it's easy, those were two things that really helped push me over the top. And then I had another person talk to me about when it comes times to do comprehensive exams and your oral exams and all of this stuff. This guy says, just write with authority. You already know more about this stuff than anybody that's going to be reading your paper. Just write with authority. And
Wow.
that really helped me a lot. It's like, heck, they're right. I do know more about this than anybody else in the room. So writing with authority really helped me. And so those were, I guess my point is, um, when you're stuck and talking to people about being stuck,
Mm.
a lot of times that is where the unleashing part at
Mm.
least comes from me. uh, and it's the same way if my gardening's looking bad or something like this. Well, why don't you try this? And I just talk about it. It's like, oh, I'm sick of my cooking. I need to learn something new. Well, why don't you try this? Or, you know, oh gosh, I've been hanging out this year with uh, a whole lot in Louisiana. My goodness, there's a whole lot about cooking that you just never would think about until you hang out in Louisiana, where they think cayenne pepper is one of the food groups. It's like, oh yeah, you got to have protein, carbs, and cayenne pepper every time. And so you just I learn a lot and get motivated to unleash stuff by just talking about with people about where I'm stuck. And I don't think there's any shame in being stuck, because I think so much in life is trying to bring us down, to try to make us stuck. And it's like, well, like Jimmy is always reminding us, we're really divine spiritual people. We weren't made this. I mean, it's okay to be stuck. It's not okay to stay stuck. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
And um, um, and so how do we get out of that? So I guess that's when I think about unleashing stuff, it's recognizing within yourself when you're stuck,
Mm.
and then trying to find the people that can help you get unstuck. Uh, uh, that that seems to work for me. And especially when you're a transgender and you're talking about how to live your best life, to have friends that'll talk to you about, well, have you tried this with your hair? Or do this, or you need to get a little bit of sun or this or that. Uh, and and um, and so there's some things about being creative that come real easy to me. For instance, teaching children, or doing public speaking, or being to come up with a joke on the fly to just lighten up, or to put people at ease. Those kind of things come easy. But when I've got to produce something like critical writing, those are the things where I really get stuck. And you're right about an editor. Finding a good editor is a huge part. I
Uh,
saw this movie once that uh, great novels aren't written; they're edited. and and so yeah, your editor, it needs to be your best friend. And so that's another thing. Find a good editor and talk to them, and you get a lot of help there. So I don't know what uh, Raji's right, and all of you are right. Naturally, very creative species. Necessity is the mother of invention, and we look at our problems and we problem solve, and we get real creative about that.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with music and everything else. If you're stuck in a particular style of playing, it helps to talk to people. Say, hey, show me how you're doing. I've always wanted to be able to do that. Show me how you do that. And so that's what I do, is I talk to people when I'm stuck, and it's about getting unstuck.
Yeah. That is really very nice. When you were talking about, how to put the book together, I was remembering many, parts of my story. Many, many centuries ago, I mean, not centuries ago, but many years ago, I used to be a consultant. So my writing was always made by putting table of contents first, and then developing on the table of contents. That was really always. But it's so incredible. When you write a novel, it doesn't work like that so well, because
No,
you put your table of contents together because you've got some kind of idea that what is coming out, and then you've got halfway of the book you've got the 10th different table of content, because you've changed this and you changed that and you changed that. And but that's really a nice part of being creative, because I mean, the books I wrote before them, as a consultant, they were not such a creative books. They were more, kind of business books. So, and it was a kind of mechanical work. You knew more or less what we were going to write before you already started writing it, So
Mhm.
completely different.
Yeah.
But creativity is very important. And of course, it's not only book creativity, it's everything. And yeah, as a transgender, you have to be very creative because, um, you know, being a late um, transitioner, you never had your mother to tell you, oh, this is good for you and this is not
Right.
good for you. And, you didn't have the advices that most cis women have. So you have to get yourself on the way, and it comes a little bit later and probably is not always as effective. So,
Oh God.
okay, let's go through the last round. Who wants to go first for the last round? Raj?
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so when Bobby was talking about her grandmom, it made me think about my mother. My mother can take a shack, a broken down shack, and turn it into the most beautiful and comfortable home. She's always had a gift for just sprucing up an environment.
Mhm.
And, I started to think about mom because, growing up with her, sometimes you take things for granted, but it made me, when I heard Bobby talk about her grandmom, it made me think about the gift my mom has and the way she expresses her creativity. And everyone, we all have a gift. All of you out there that's watching, we all have that special gift. And so I just want to encourage people to nurture it, nurture the gift, and exercise it and express it, because it's what you bring to the planet. It's like the thing that makes you, or one of the things that makes you special.
Yeah.
So I love the Proverbs. Oh my God, the Proverbs. Oh, those are excellent, Bobby. Those Chinese Proverbs. And they're so simple, but so powerful. So powerful. And then, Jimmy had made a comment about, like, when you desire something, you have a goal, or you want something, or you want to create something, you think about the finished product, like what you want. And think about the end game of, like, giving you that will give you, like, the motivation to actually start and get there. And it's funny, Ella, because you talked about, like, when you wrote your book, you start with the table of contents. I do the same thing. To me, it's like a structure of how, like, you have a vision
Right.
of the different areas you want to talk about. And I found it to be a really good, like, guideline, and of course it's going to change, and, along the way, and that sort of thing. So I want to just say this in closing. Um, okay, it's not, I'll see it and believe it. It's, I'll believe it and then you'll see it. Okay. So you have to have the belief, the vision, to actually see the manifestation. A lot of us think, well, when I see it, I'll believe it. No, 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 no. Believe it and then you will see it.
Yeah.
So on that note, I'll send it back to Ella and you can send it to someone else.
I will send it to Jimmy now. Say more as before.
Yeah, I'm really hearing some good stuff. And um, I think if we understand that we are the architects of our own life, that kind of makes it real.
Yeah.
And uh, discipline. I was just reading something earlier today that discipline equates to freedom.
Mm.
Mm.
And we may have the creative juices and the imagination, but some of this stuff is going to require discipline to turn it into reality. We can believe all we want, and I love it. If you can believe it, then you'll see it. I love it. I love it. This is all so excellent. But in order for our dreams to become a reality, it's going to require some discipline.
No.
And I think that would be a nice topic for one of these sessions, is talk about how do we cultivate, how do we grow our own self-discipline? You know, you can have a boss or somebody tell you what to do, but to have initiative and self-discipline to be able to manage our lives in such a way that unleashing our creativity will result in our dreams becoming a reality.
Mhm.
And I think too, hidden deep in all of us are all these traits. Find out what unleashes yours. And for myself, I know, again, as I mentioned earlier, when I'm at the gym working out or on the Stairmaster or walking on the beach, usually about halfway through, I get into that zone that Ella was talking about. And I think when we are able to silence all the noise in the world and we begin to vibrate at a higher frequency
Mm-hmm.
where all this information is stored and available, um, we're able to access the Akasha where all this information stored.
Mm.
And I'll just sign off with this. We may have an idea and a creative spirit to try to make something become a reality. Leave the universe a little bit of wiggle room. How we think it's going to go down may not be the actual way it goes down.
Yeah.
And the result may be more than you ever dreamed of.
Yes, expected. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Ella.
I'll give you Bobby.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we wanted to talk about this tonight because I've really been struggling with um, unleashing creativity in a certain area, and it is about a book I've been writing, and I'm trying to convince people to unlearn their hate. And that's a very, very tough thing for me to do because, like I said, I've been an educator all my life. I've been all about learning, and unlearning is something I haven't been very practiced in, and I get scared by the resistance that's out there. Um, uh, I've got to. Um, I've been invited to speak in November at the National Women's Studies Association. They're going to have 2,500 women there, and I know that some of them are going to be haters, and what am I going to do with that? But so I let that onslaught of criticism kind of slow me down a lot. I've worked with some documentary filmmakers over the last few years, and they've all been really good. But just in the process of putting a film together, I couldn't believe the opposition that was already lined up and creating YouTube videos. I'll give you a good example. Um, One of the best projects I ever worked on was 1946, the mistranslation that shifted culture. And that's all about how the word homosexual should have never appeared in the Bible. It was a horrible mistranslation of two words that are actually sins that heterosexual men commit, uh, and and uh, and it was a mistake. And the people that did it admitted that, but it was 30 years before they corrected it. But anyhow, just the thought floating around in public that we were working on something where the word homosexual should have never been in the Bible. You would search, if you go to YouTube and you search for 1946,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see two or three videos that we produced, and you'll see about 50 the haters brought out because they have built empires on hate. And and they were coming out before we ever got started. Just the rumor that we were working on this just put all of this stuff out there. And so I allow myself to get intimidated by that. And that's what I really am trying to push through right now is how to be creative in a loving way when you know that there are going to be some very vicious critics out there. And so that's what I'm struggling with right now. And it's pushing back against me more than it's shoving me forward. And that's why I was glad you wanted to talk about this tonight, because I need to unleash, my
Yeah.
inner warrior on them.
As Jimmy always says, just to finalize, if you're not, if there is not something against you, you're not in the map, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
true.
love that
Just
saying.
look at that. Just look at that. If you're not criticized, if people do not take something against you, you don't even exist, right? And that is
Yeah,
true.
it goes. If you're not being cheered or booed, you're not even in the damn game.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's exactly with that. And I have to say, I think right now we're going to extremes of hate at the moment
Mhm.
because it's kind of in,
Yes.
with some people it's kind of in. I don't think that the level of hate is always continuously. It goes ups and down, but right
Mhm.
now it's kind of the daily fashion for some people. So, they just do that.
Mhm.
I sincerely hope that soon, probably will not be over, but it will be reduced to, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, with those positive words and looking forward for a great future and doing something absolutely beautiful. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Yeah, namaste, namaste.
Bye. Bye. So.